Welcome to It's Show Business. Today we have a hybrid music and comedy episode with Coach T. He's the DJ for the roast battle at the Comedy Store, also a producer. This was a great interview. We cover all sorts of music topics, production, top rappers, DJing, what equipment to buy, how to not make mistakes, how to avoid key mistakes, all good stuff. You need to know this. So listen, rate, review, subscribe on YouTube. Thank you.
Okay. I'm in the game. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. Probably the best sound I've ever had, and it was worth it.
All right.
This is what happens when two people with engineering backgrounds start to try to figure this all out. Because you should see my setup too. It's like I got FaceTime going out of the Mac headphone port into one of the Zoom recorder like box, and then I got my mic here going into the Zoom box, and then I got the screen cap going.
Is that and that's a typewriter?
Oh yeah, it's a typewriter. I bought it on a whim on eBay because I was like, I got to write more, and I was like, maybe if I buy this, it'll make me write more, and it did for about a week, and then now it's just a nice prop here.
They got like typewriter apps or something like that, right?
Yeah, but it actually is. It's fun, and it's like it's interesting. I tried to write a couple pages of a script on that, and I'm like, this is brutal. They're like tab in, but it does get you out of the like computer zone, which we're all in 24/7. You know.
Yeah, the typewriter reminds me of that movie Misery with the feet that.
Like, yeah, I never saw it. I remember, don't they like smash the kneecaps or something?
Oh my God, no, it's his feet. I'm gonna watch that tonight.
You're in the mood for some misery? Isn't there enough misery in the world right now?
I don't know what the hell is going on, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell is going on.
Well, Coach T, thanks for doing the podcast. I really appreciate you being here today with us.
No. It's all yours. I'm thankful for a conversation. It's been a very interesting year or so for people.
Has it ever? And we met through Julie Seabaugh, who wrote the Roast Battle book. And she brought you to the Comedy Bunker, which I was honored to have you.
Yeah, I was honored to be there, man. I thought it was like some eyes wide shut shit, you know. I was going to get a blowjob. But you guys are just telling jokes. So that was pretty good.
Yeah. It's second best. But yeah. And then you run all the music production for the Roast Battle, which every time I see it, I'm always impressed as someone with an engineering background, how you pull that sound effects up so fast, like how you're running. Like I'm still blown away. Like I want to, like, if you're open to sharing, I'd love to know, like, what software do you use? Like, how do you pull that all together, like, so fast, so quickly during those battles?
Yeah. It's about the prep. I'm going to say it's about the prep. I would like to say that I just show up and everything is what it needs to be. But especially in the early days of the roast battle, I spent hours prepping. So like if we had a battle, you know, I got to be there like 10 or something like that. I might spend 4 hours just prepping, cutting sound effects, to having an idea, to the fact where I feel like I understand about 1,000 different little audio samples, and I put them in a place on my software that I can get to them pretty quick. And then throughout the battles, I started to realize, like, okay, these work well. Then I would categorize them, and then I would put cue points in them. But to be really basic, all I use is Serato. So Serato, I just use the DJing app. Inside of Serato, they have 8 sample banks. And inside of the 8 sample banks, you can have 8 cue marks in those. So you have 8 sample banks. You have 8 sample banks, but you have 8 sample slots. So you have 4 banks, and then each of the slot you can have 8 cues. So you just prep to have those, and then you try to get lucky. But then every now and then you'll hear a joke kind of forming, and then I'll just abandon and go find something I think is dope and try to throw it in when the crowd dies.
Yeah, like I remember, I think Jon Stewart was a judge. Someone said something about Simpsons, and you had the Simpsons theme cue.
Oh, yeah.
Like, so that's you searching, like you're going online and
if
pulling
I hear anything that sounds like something that is a general reference, my fingers can move faster than the person can tell the joke and the people can hear it. And so at that point, it's like, I'm just going to wait. So I don't want to step on a joke, and I want to make sure that we're enhancing the show and I don't steal anything. But it's like, I can move a lot faster than they can.
Oh, okay. So they've said something, you still have time to pull it up, and then you're just waiting for the right moment to drop it.
Oh, let's say if someone's doing a setup and someone says, you remind me of Bart, I'm typing. By the time you say Simpsons, I've probably already got it queued up. Like
Oh,
it's not
wow.
even an issue. If I hear Bart, I'm already in it. So like the real challenge is my public school education because I can't spell. And
Google's got you covered there.
no, but you gotta find it like quick. Like you can't miss a beat. I
Yeah.
remember somebody had a cold joke on Jeff Ross, and it was like Uncle Fester, and I tried to go find Adam's Family, and I think it's spelled with two D's, and I only spelled it with one D, and I missed the whole joke, and it was a quiet ride home for me. I felt bad.
That's not public school. I didn't know. No one knows that has two D's. That's the producer's fault.
Yeah, that killed me, or something like that. I remember missing that. Like I'm haunted by the Adams Family joke because it would have killed.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get it because I can't spell. So what?
Yeah. No, I mean that's anyone would have made that mistake. But so when you pull it up, are you playing it like from the browser? Are you importing it into Serato, or
No,
how's it?
I have everything in Serato. So I got thousands and thousands of things that I think might be funny. So I got everything. It's just about putting things in my computer that I know are good. Like, I just got to be able to find it. And I got to be able to find it kind of quick. So I mean, I've got like, I think when I transfer my Serato thing, it's like 33 days of music in Serato.
Wow.
So it's like
So you find the like the Simpsons one, Bart, you Googled it, and now are you just pressing play when you find it, or are you actually taking the time to also still move it to Serato?
oh, so let's say I find a sound effect like Simpsons, right? And I had the Simpsons. I already had every theme song that anyone can ever think of. I've already had that even before the roast battle, and I just happened to be in my Serato. It works into a DJ set, and so now that I know that those things hit in roast battle, I just make sure that I have good cue points on the Simpsons, because the worst thing would be to throw the Simpsons in at a point where we don't recognize it. So it's comedy. I've got like these milliseconds for a laugh to die down. You still got, 4 or 5 judges trying to get in there and show the world how funny they are. I just got to find a nice, cool spot where it's kind of dead, and I got to make sure it's cued properly. I have everything muted, and then I'll turn it up and I'll cue it, and I'll make sure that it hits kind of the way it needs to hit. But it's all prep. I'm telling you, it's all prep. Like the roast, I may have done 1,000 roast battles, but I've done 10,000 roast battles in my mind, prepping, making sure the audio could possibly be where it needs to be.
Wow. So you basically have the samples on like kind of one shots you with a trigger and a fade.
Oh,
So it's like it's queued up at the place like you said where it's like the most recognizable, and
uh-huh.
it's going to be, you can just press it and then kind of move on, it'll fade and kind of keep going.
Yeah, there's three playback structures. You have a one shot, you have a hold, and
Yeah.
you have something else. I forget what it is. Or it's like it goes. You can start it and stop it. So you can start it and stop it, one shot it, and you can hold.
Yeah, like MPC style where it
Yeah.
re-triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to make I had to make a decision on that. So like a gunshot is always a one shot. And sometimes I have these long like army scenes, and that way I could just trigger that, and then I can go to other things and drop bombs on that and do things like that. So yeah, there's just a lot of it's nerdy style prep. It's nothing like, oh, we're hanging out and look how cool I am. It's like 4 hours of battle to the point where, okay, 5 years into it, you can kind of be cool without even trying. But in the early
Right.
days, it was work.
That's all. Everything in the studio, people think it's going to be hookers and blow and it's mostly just you're playing with a mouse and yelling at someone one more time, do it again, do it
Exactly.
again.
Exactly. But it's like there'll be times when I'll be like, I'm getting tired of my sound effects. I gotta fix that. And then I'll go get sound effects, and I'll listen to them. I'll be like, I don't even like how they sound, so I'll go in and I'll add compression. Like a certain bomb dies the way that I don't like it to die, so I'll go in and I'll fix that. I had like these Mario sound effects, but I didn't like the way that they hit, so maybe I added some distortion, and maybe I've done this, maybe I've done that, and there's really a lot of musical science, nerdy shit that happens hours and hours before every battle. And I wish it was more glamorous, but it's like it's like OCD almost.
No, but I mean that's like, to be skilled at music production and engineering, it's a lot of like nerdy stuff and a lot of technical know-how you have to do to make sure that like those little things matter. Like you don't think it does, but if one sound effect's quieter than the other, then you're spending all day turning things up and down. So if you have it all queued up, compressed the way you like it, like it makes for a better show.
Yeah, it's got to hit. It's got to rumble. And I remember we did our first away show was in San Diego. We did it at the Comedy Store in San Diego. We had Jeff with us, and I had a portable subwoofer, and I brought it and I hooked it up, and the guy who was running helping us with audio in San Diego was he's like a pothead. He's like, "What do you need to sub? We have good sounds for." I was like, "Dude, shut up! Like, we need a sub." And then at the end of the show, he looked at me. He was like, "Yeah, that mattered." I'm like, "Yeah, low frequencies matter in a roast battle. It just does something to you when a joke hits and you hear a bomb and you hear this weird low energy.
Yeah.
If you can't reproduce that properly, it kind of takes away from the show."
Right, because speaker system set up to talk has the low end taken out, so it doesn't sound like poppy and all that stuff. So if you have a separate sub just feeding for the sound effects, it's gonna sound dope.
Yeah, that was the first thing I did when I got in there. I was like, "Oh, I brought a portable subwoofer. It was a 10-inch subwoofer, but it was huge. I brought it up every single week because I was like, it mattered. But at the time, we're like, dude, we were talking to HBO, we're talking to Comedy Central, so it was like, we're trying to make enough money to retire. So we got to be on TV and we were poor, so all that shit just made sense.
Right. Yeah. And did you ever there were so many different incarnations of the roast battle. Did you ever see someone trying to do your sound effects or replace you, and you're like, "Nah, this isn't it"?
I've seen it. I've seen it like in New York, and I've seen all these things, and I'm just like, "Oh, that's interesting." To me, it's like, to me, I'm like, well, that was the goal in the first place when you're doing art, anyways. The goal was to create something that we all felt was missing, and now you're just doing it. And it was like, I don't get caught on, I created this. It was like, no, I don't even feel like I created it. I was behind some turntables and I was like, this makes sense. Like anyone with a brain behind turntables would do what I did. I just happened to be there. So that element of the ego is gone. But at the end of the day, that's what we all wanted to do, right? That's what we all want to do. We all want to make something that people go like, oh, that should have always been there. So now I'll do it. And now I'll do it. And now I'll do it. Now I'll do it.
Yeah. You could create like a Coach T roast battle starter kit.
I know in the beginning, some guy came up and he really tried to pick my brain, and I was really standoffish. I was really covenant of everything I know about audio. But now I realize that, I learned everything because someone gave it to me. So now I'm a little bit more anxious just to give everything away. I just want to be a fountain. Everything I know, I want to give away.
Yeah, and it used to be like the dark arts. Like you could only learn it from some other guy who learned it from someone else.
Yeah.
And now a lot of it's on the internet, like how to EQ, how to do this, how to do that.
Everything's on YouTube, and it just takes years and years of practice.
Yeah, and access to the tools, like especially if you want to learn on some of the analog stuff, like the opportunity to do that is disappearing because there's not as many studios. There's not as many greats who are still engineering and doing it, and it's become a bit of a video game. You're clicking, you're moving, you're sliding.
Absolutely. So I'm so glad you said that. So part of the reason why we started 30 minutes late is because I have a UAD system. Well, actually, what I'm in right now, I'm in a this is my studio that I built, but it's for a nonprofit organization. So the kids come in here and they kind of record therapeutic music. Then we process it in group, think about your choices and your song and things that you decided to say. But the way that we built the system, it was based on the UAD system. And then when I bought the UAD system from Sweetwater, they were like, hey, have you heard of Luna? It's coming. And so that's why we were like, well, what DAW are you using? I'm like, dude, I'm using Luna. It's like, it's fucking different. Like I know, but Luna's fucking weird and it fucks with shit and it just takes stuff over. But the reason why Luna mattered is because it makes me work on the LA2A. And then I remember when I worked on Chris Rock's album and I was in Electric Lady, I was just blown away by how that analog equipment sounded.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I can't get it, I got to get as close as I can. And
right.
So that's why I have such a complicated audio system, because it's like, no, I want to know what a LA2A sounds like. I want to know what the 1176, how it responds to vocals and things of that nature. I'm used to the Fairchild and things like that. I don't really mess with any kind of the new stuff. Yeah,
the UA does a really good job because they also technically own the analog versions of them. So their plugins for the LA2A 1176 are really good.
Yeah, I love them.
And also, it's cool that you got to go to Electric Late. I mean, that's Jimi Hendrix's studio. Like, it's one of the best studios in the world.
I was a kid in a candy store in there. Like,
yeah,
I took my paycheck and I bought everything I could buy. And I was just, I was like, I saw this and I saw that. Because I'm talking to you on a Beta 58, right? And I remember there was an ad-lib part, and the engineer there plugged in a Beta 58, and it sounded so good, like I almost like had an orgasm. I said, why does that sound so good? He's like, I just have a Neve and a preamp. And I was like, the preamp makes that much difference? He's like, yeah. I was like, wow. So when I saw somebody use microphones that I usually use but run them through an analog, I was like, I need to get into the analog world, because that saturation is very important.
Yeah, like a Neve preamp, like it gives you, it's just a gain and a saturation that's like, it adds like just so much depth.
Yeah, it's special. I mean, it's small and minute. Most people are like, what are you guys talking about? But I'm like, nah, those little things over time and an overall project make a humongous difference.
Yeah, because especially I would say it's less important if it's just like talking or one microphone. But when you're building, like you said, like a multi-track thing, like every mistake compounds on itself.
Absolutely.
And then you have this, mess at the end of it if you haven't taken the time to get your gain staging right, use the right preamps, use the right gear, and then you have to spend so much more time mixing it, which means more plugins and more time. And yeah, there was this thing like get it right going in was always what we tried to do.
Yeah, that's good there. But yeah, so you can tell that I'm very enthusiastic about the science of music.
Yeah. And you mentioned you worked on Chris Rock's Tamborine, right?
I did work on Rock's Tamborine. That was
I picked up the vinyl. It's on my shelf after you told me about it.
I appreciate that. That means a lot.
It means $1 to you, maybe 10 cents.
Yeah, I gotta log in there. I still haven't gotten my royalties, but that's because I'm lazy. I didn't need any money until 2020, so but now we all need money. But no, it was that was a very good experience. Like, I learned so much, and that's not always the case. Like, I got to be in a special place. Like, I got to be on a special part of Hollywood, a special part of the industry where I just soaked every single thing in, and I'm very humble and very thankful for that opportunity.
And for those who don't know, like the audio version of Chris Rock's Tamborine is not the same as the Netflix version.
No, it's way different. It was I did a mixtape for this guy Jamar Neighbors, and really the root of the mixtape was the fact that I had all these hip hop samples that I know no one would want to rap on. I just wouldn't. I didn't know anyone who wants to rap over. I used a lot of French progressive prog rock. Like, no one's rapping on that, but I liked it and it sounded good. And what it ended up being is making the comics, the jokes sound like theatrical. It makes the bits feel like they're scored. And so it started to sound a little bit more like songs and less like, a stand-up bit. Well, Rock heard it because it was kind of like like an internet, the who's who of internet. Like Questlove got it, then he tweeted it out, then he gave it to Neil Brennan, and it just passed around and everything like that. And so when Rock heard it, he was like, I don't know who did that, but I want that. And then that's where it started. And then I tried to really push some aggressive, rare samples on him at first, but he was like, no, we can't because Netflix owns it. And so then I had to get creative, which that was a whole spiritual process, because I was excited to be a part of it, but I wanted to do it my way, but I had to kind of respect Rock's vision.
Totally. Yeah. Were you layering the samples after the jokes, or were you giving them the samples and the jokes were laid on top?
Yeah, I look at it, well, see, you gotta realize, when Chris Rock calls you, especially where I was at that time, it's like, oh shit, what the fuck is going on? And so you get really kind of excited. But just where I'm at spiritually, I always try to work from a place of service. So it was all Rock led. It wasn't like, oh, give me the ball so I can run with it. It was like, hey, the first thing I asked him, I said, hey man, how much does this matter to you? Like what does it mean to you? Like this album? And I go, like, you just looking for a money grab? Like, what is this? He says, I want to be the greatest. Like, I want it to go Richard, Eddie, and me. And I said, fuck, cool. I'm inspired. So he goes, oh, well, what do you want me to do? He says, meet my guy, watch the special. It was a few months before it came out. And he said, like, I want you to just focus on this cop bit. And so that's the way that he saw it. He saw his bits as tracks. So that kind of came from him. I see everything as tracks, but I'm a producer, so I enhance the performer. And so he saw his stuff as tracks. And when he saw it as tracks, I just listened to it and I was like, well, where does it take you? And is there any way that music can help? And then there was this crazy unreleased sample that I sent him that everyone shit their pants. Didn't use it because we couldn't clear it, and Netflix didn't want to clear it. But it was like he said, "Yo, if this is how we're starting, this is gonna be nuts." Like we sent it to Sarah Silverman, we sent it to everybody. Everyone was like, "Yo, this is dumb." I was like, "Right? This is almost like a new genre of music, almost."
Damn. Yeah, the sample clearance is that one roadblock to the ultimate creativity.
Yeah, I've been working feverishly to get the sound I want while also not running into any legal roadblocks. And I think I'm in a good place going into this year.
When like Aziz Ansari, for example, he was on one of the skits.
Yeah.
And is he doing the skit over the beat? Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like he had the music and then did it, as opposed to like the beat coming in later.
Everybody does their thing, and then I come in, I do my thing.
Oh, so you kind of scored it after?
I'm a scorer.
Okay.
So, these are Rock's ideas. Like Rock had, I don't think the Me and Mrs. Jones thing kind of hit it. So what Rock was kind of doing, he was like, "Hey man, I have these ideas. Can you do them?" And then I would do them, and he's like, "These are fucking dope. Do you want to come to New York for a week?" And then at the end of the week, it was like, "Can it be 2?" And I was like, "All right, cool, I'm here." And I would just hit every idea that he had. So Rock could have like 40% of the idea, and then I would just add the music and complete the idea. And he's like, "Man, that's perfect. Like you just put everything where it needed to be, and it all felt good."
And are you guys in the studio together? Like,
oh yeah,
as this is happening?
Not even just us. Like, keep in mind that this is the same time Kanye West did that thing in Wyoming and had everybody out there when he was picking Drake's mind and and doing all of that shit. And so, like Rock was out there, and when Rock was in Wyoming, he came to New York, and then there were people that were in Wyoming and they were coming to New York too. So there was people that were literally like, "I was just with Kanye and now I'm over here with Chris Rock." And so like it was like a party. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm gonna butcher his name, but the guy who did works with Bruno Mars, worked with Sarah Winehouse or Amy Winehouse. Mark Ronson.
Mark Ronson, yeah.
Mark Ronson was there. Questlove was there. Jimmy, I forget his name, the comedian, Jimmy, whatever the fuck. But anyways, everyone's there. Everyone's coming in and out, and Rock's just like, "Hey, just listen to this, listen to this, listen to this," and we're all collectively listening to it, and you could just see, I don't know, this project grow, and we all kind of started to like it more and more as we played it for other people. And it was one of those things where like the last few days I was like, you know what? Once I figured out that the food was free, I said, I think I'm gonna
studio food is the best.
Yeah. I was like,
you got the menu book?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So once I figured out that the food was free, I think one night I just stayed there. I just stayed there all night because I was like, well, you got to tell your kids that you stayed in the studio one night, and what else could it be? Some independent.
Yeah, everyone's got to sleep in the studio one time.
Oh yeah, I loved it. I had such a unique, almost spiritual energy throughout the whole process. It was really dope. But for Netflix to say, "Oh yeah, you can only release it on Netflix Records," it was like, oh, that sucks, because we kind of busted our ass on it and we spent a bunch of money.
Yeah. I feel I definitely had one of those sleep in the studio moments for me when I lived in New York. It was like in between. I had like 1 day gap where I was moving apartments, and I was like, "I'm sleeping here tonight. Let's go."
Yeah, I was really connected to that project. It was. Yeah. So I'm like, man, I would like to recreate that. If that could just be your life, man, where you're not worried about anything but the project, and art, and it's got everything that you have, and that's rare. I'm trying to recreate that again.
And that's not typical for like the way comedy gets recorded. Like the way it feels more like a recording studio for like a rap album, which maybe was a throwback to Chris Rock's, because I think he had a deal as a rapper at one point, and maybe he even made a rap album. There was something like that. Like he's on Old Dirty Bastards record doing interludes. Like, he's definitely tied to that world.
I asked him about that, because I was like, "Hey man, you should get so and so. You can get so and so," and he was like, "Bro, I don't got rapper time." And I was like, "Well," I said, "What about No Sex in the Champagne Room?" And he's all like, "That's because we were in Studio A and Gerald Levert was in Studio B. So I just ran into him and I said, come in here and do that." And that's kind of how that works. He's very opportunistic in that sense. And that's one of the reasons why he wanted to rent out a studio. He also rented out a studio in LA too, because he wanted, and at the time, Travis Scott was kind of coming in and out. And he was like, "Hey, can you let me know when Travis is here so I can be here when he's here?" He's trying to create synergy and attract people to it. And he does a good job of that.
Yeah, that's one thing that's like missing from music nowadays is those like studio sessions where there's different artists in different rooms and you kind of like you meet in the lobby and some magic happens.
Yeah, yeah. But that's definitely what he was going for. He was like, I want everyone to know I'm in town. I want them to know where I'm at, and I want them to come by. He tried to
Yeah.
do that in LA. Was way more successful in New York.
Where were you guys at? The record
I
plant?
no, I forget. It was a
Chalice?
no. It's nice. It's yeah,
Westlake?
no. It's like it's blocked off. It's like fuck. I don't know. If you said it, I would know it.
Marvin's room?
No. It's got good scenery. Good
Oh, like lots of greens and stuff? Like a big like kind of garden?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that it's in West Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah. Ah, I forgot the name, but that I love that they have like a sick Neve board that kind of stands above and goes down to this huge recording
That that
space.
that was the first time I actually kind of saw a lot of the stuff that I had been kind of practicing on. Because I'm a fab filter guy. I really like it and everything like that. And I like the new stuff. I like isotopes. I like all of that new guy stuff. But just seeing that, I don't know why, it just fucked with me. And I was like, wow, you have every single one of these plugins that we're trying to practice and we're trying to recreate, and they're all running in. And I'm like, dude, let's just start fucking with this. And
Yeah.
and
You only
I
get
wasn't
one. When it's analog, it just sits there. You got one.
yeah, yeah, and everyone, every time I go in the studios, they're like, "What are you talking about? We've been in the studio for years using recall sheets. Just to, like, we're tired of it. We love the fact that you can have presets, and we like
Yeah.
to do all of this stuff." But I was like, "Nah, I don't know why. It just looks cool to me." And so I'm really attracted to the analog sound. And plus, I think analog kind of makes you stand out a little bit more now. Everything's getting very syncopated. Everything's getting very locked in. So if I can make things sound a little muddy, it's almost refreshing.
Totally. That was one of my first jobs was like recording sheets, like writing everything down in the studio, patching everything in for people. Like,
yeah, I guess it could get old, but I only get to flirt with it, once every 5 years. So it's very exciting.
yeah. Well, it'd be wrong if we didn't mention that MF Doom passed, who was like a big,
Absolutely
part of this sound and he's just a legendary producer, rapper.
Yeah.
And it's just another 2020 mess,
Yeah, we didn't kind of see that coming.
No.
That was unfortunate.
And someone posted that he actually died, I think, Halloween, and somehow kept it under wraps for 2 months, which was the most MF Doom thing that could happen.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't kind of suck. It really sucks.
Yeah. I had the privilege to mix one of his songs like in 2006, and
wow.
It was just great. It was like, I think it was a sample, and like it was only like 8 tracks, so I really had to like really make it work, but it was an honor, and it sucks that we lost another great one.
Rest in peace.
What's one of the things you invested in terms of your career that like really paid off? And doesn't necessarily have to be monetary, it can be like a choice or a decision.
Oh, there's 2 things. I'm gonna tell you them out of order, but whatever. This is how they happen. So I got to be honest. The first thing was we moved out here because I'm trying to get away so I don't have some explosives. We moved out here and we didn't have any money and we kind of didn't have a place to stay. Me and my wife moved out here, and then like you understand, like the same week I got a job at the place that I'm at right now, which was basically I'm a therapist. I really study the mind, and then and my boy Moses was like, well, "You're in town, come DJ my show." And then that all happened. So I came on a Monday, worked, and on Tuesday, I didn't work on Monday. I had to work till Wednesday. So I came on a Monday. Tuesday, I did the roast battle. And Wednesday, I worked here. And I was like, if I'm going to do this roast battle, I'm going to need a new mixer. And it was a Vastec. I don't use it no more, but it was like $700. And I got
the gold one, the Vestax?
No, not the gold one. They had one up. So it was like, it's a PMC, I think 07. Basically, it had MIDI buttons on it. I was like, I need MIDI buttons because I'm doing this. And if I could do this, I think it'll drop. And we're not paying rent and we're not eating. And I looked at my wife and I was like, how much room's on your card? And she's like, there's like 1,000. We're going to put this on it. And she looked at me like I was crazy, but I always hold her down. So from that, $749 investment, I spawned an entire career based off of it. And I just thought that was crazy. But I didn't think about it at all. Like I was just like, this has to happen. Like it was so much clarity that I didn't even question it. And because of that, she didn't get nervous. And then out of that, we have a very beautiful lifestyle right now where we can kind of take care of ourselves, you know, minus this year. So buying that thing and buying that thing from a place where I just believed in the opportunity in myself so much just made perfect sense. And I don't think people realize that sometimes it works like that. I've bought like 5 mixers since then and they've all paid for themselves.
Yeah.
Also, the last, I don't know, maybe 2 years, I've been on a really intense, intimate, spiritual journey, like trying to understand the cosmos and how they connect to reality. Really reading scripture, really applying it to my life, and just really walking with a purpose to please the Most High. And it's made everything so clear to the point where like I don't even know how I existed without it. Like it was like how I'm here without the knowledge that I have now is like crazy to me.
It all ties back to what you were saying before, which is like the prep, like you believed in yourself to make the investment, maybe at a time when some people might say you shouldn't do that, but you did. You doubled down and you took the time to be the best, so you were prepared for the opportunity, which is, I mean, if people always want other people to invest in them, but like if you're not going to take the time to or money of yourself to put it in yourself, like who is going to invest in you if you don't take the lead?
Yeah, that was nuts because it was like we don't know what's going to happen. But when I moved out here, I was like, hey, I kind of want to make $1 million. I studied people who have made $1 million, and a lot of them go broke. So I was like, we have never gone broke. So let's go broke a few times. And then I'll be like, yeah. Like I came to LA thinking I would feel better if I was a failure than if I was a guy who never tried. Like I wanted to fail a few times, but right. I don't know. It hasn't.
That's good. Get the broke out of the way early.
I wanted to. Like all the guys who have so much money, a lot of those guys there's been times when they've lost everything.
Yeah.
I've never lost everything. I've been holding on to everything. So
yeah.
So that's what that was.
Yeah, this should be an ad for Vestax.
Yeah. That was and then they went out of business, which was kind of scary. But yeah, I got the Vestac mixer, and I was like, yeah. And then that's when I started getting into using MIDI into my DJ sets. And the MIDI really helps. So then after that, I was like, okay, cool. Then I got another one. Now I'm on a Pioneer S9. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what we need. And it's like that, that Vastec mixer has turned into 2 TV shows. Like that's crazy. That doesn't make it anywhere in the whole world. So
yeah. Well, it's like Timbaland with the ASR-10 or the Neptunes with their Triton, or like these pieces of gear like spawn an entire like years of creativity and like output and people copying the sound and the MPC, what's the EMU SP12 like.
Yeah, and I just switched over to this Native Instruments. I got an MK3 now. Oh look, shit! I have this right here. I donated it to this whatever, right? I had that
the machine.
Yes, but this is the micro. So I had it for like a year and a half, and it just didn't make sense to me. But what I was really trying to do was figure out a way to categorize my sounds because I got 1,000 kicks, 1,000 snares, And so now I've been on the MK3, the bigger one at my house, and I'm like, oh shit, this is like I understand this. Like I understand this machine. Like I get my DNA now, and I'm like, wow, I cannot wait to do something special again.
Yeah. Do you ever whip out like the hardware, like samplers and stuff, or is it just too far back? Doesn't.
That's too far back. If I see people playing with that, I'm like, hey, toodaloo, way to go. That's the level of dedication that I'm like, okay, that's really good. That's interesting. But yeah, now I'm like, I'm into. I like to be in spaces that people are not, and so I think we're really gonna try to take that mixture of music and hip hop and comedy and sampling, but sampling in a very kind of different way. Because when you're a sample guy like me, because I did a whole bunch of sample beats, and when you come to LA and you got to actually make money off of them, you sit down and you think differently. Because now you can just go to the record store and be like, this sounds good, let me cut it up. It's like, no, who owns the rights and what's the project for? And you kind of think like that.
Yeah, I mean, even like a guy like Kanye says that like he loses money on his records, and he has a ton of samples that he pays for.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jackson samples, like
yeah. Those are
like that's gonna eat into your profit, and if you're a producer bringing, it's gonna come out of your fee essentially.
Yeah.
So if you're getting 10 grand a track and the sample costs five, I mean,
Well,
there's half.
good luck, right?
Yeah. And a sample costing five is usually cheap.
Yeah, it's so I found that there's some workarounds, and I'm like, oh, let me get into this, and let me take a look at this and get into this community because I get to, I get to kind of be around comics, be around musicians, be in the mental health field, be around all kinds of people, and so now I'm just kind of focused on say how can we all complement each other, and that we didn't think about before.
What's one of the things you invested in where like it just didn't work out? Like you're like, I tried this one avenue, this one thing, and it's just, I gave it a shot, but not for me.
Man, that's a good because I hate I don't want to sound cocky, but everything that I really focused on, it really it did what it was supposed to do. Um, I will say I bought a bag like from that Vestech shop. So
Okay.
the first thing I bought was the mixer, and then I was like, okay, cool. Then I found myself taking all this stuff to the comedy store, and then I bought a bag, and then we changed the way that we did things, and I didn't need the bag anymore. And I tried to take the bag back, but then the Vest Top shop, the shop shut down, and then that's when I realized I was like, hey, bro, like you're getting excited, you're over consuming, you need to relax. So that even though I still have that bag, it's in my stores today. And even though that bag didn't work out, the symbolism of that bag was like, hey, it's you don't necessarily need things that you don't have right now. Sometimes you already have what you need. And you need to start moving with what you have. So I never really forget that bag. My wife's like, oh, we still have that bag, right? We just had to have it was like a $300 DJ bag. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. Sometimes I can get a little too excited.
Yeah. Well, it's like the accessories are so fun, and they're like, especially branded ones, they know how to market to people.
Oh, they look so cool. You're like, oh, I'm gonna kill them with this. But I I used to purchase from a mental space of I need it. I can't be successful without it. And really that bag helped me understand like you have everything that you need. Just start working from a place of love and you'd be
Yeah.
successful.
And limitations add to creativity. Like a lot of the music, uh, especially hip hop, was created from limitation. I only have this one drum machine with 12 seconds of sampling. Let's see what we can do?
Yep, yep. That's the move.
I see you wearing a Steelers shirt. Are you from Pittsburgh?
Not at all, man. I got this for $6 at the DD's discount. It was just a cheap shirt.
So are you like specifically not a fan?
No, I like it. I like it. I like shit. I like all black coaches if we're gonna be honest. But I mean, I like football, but I'm a 49ers fan. But I like the sport of football. I don't really care about the teams. I like the art. I like the strategy. The display of excellence. I don't really get wrapped up in the team. I just like the sport. So,
Right. So game's on, you're gonna watch.
oh yeah, I'm gonna watch, and I'm gonna find a reason to watch. I'm usually into fantasy football, but this year I was like, I'm not doing that. Not with this COVID stuff. I take it too serious. I'll break a TV. Like if I find
Oh,
some guy's not playing over some COVID, I snap. So I say I'm gonna sit this year out.
come back next year.
Yeah.
Speaking of this year, like what are some of your goals for 2021 now that we're in this new year, hopefully coming out of COVID?
Yeah, I have to find new creative ways to be of service because I think everything that I was doing is gone. And I don't no one wants to talk about this because everyone's still holding on. But I always tell this to people. I was like, hey man, have you ever been fucked before? Like when you get fucked, it doesn't happen at once. It usually happens. Hey, Latif, can I borrow $2? I'll give it back to you. Oh, I just need five more. Now I just need 20. And I'm like, well, that's what this year feels like. We just need you for 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, now we need you for a month. Don't worry the holidays. Just don't worry about it. So I'm like, in my mind, everything that I had was gone. And it's really disruptive because I was invested in the avenues that I was serving and they've all been kind of taken away. And so now I'm like, okay, how can we recreate that with the new limitations of the world? I haven't really figured it out, but there's some things that I'm supposed to do, but I'm like, I'm not really emotionally connected to it. There's some deals on the table, but they're really not feeling right. I need to make sure that I'm connected to something that's a little bit bigger than me. And I got to figure out how to do that because, I mean, the world that we know it in LA and Hollywood is gone.
Totally gone.
Yeah, and no one wants to believe it. And I say, hey, look, it's a 5-year thing. And they go, no, 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 no. I'm like, dude, I'm mentally ready for 5. I want to be wrong. I want to be so wrong, but there is no evidence based on what I see that I'm going to do what I did before March, and it's going to be at least 5 years. Like, what do you? I mean,
Like 5 years before you're back at the store and back at like doing
everyone's
sessions and
everyone's chilling, like everyone's back, like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's really no solution. Like, hopefully the vaccine is what it needs to be, but it's like, man, how long is that going to take to get everyone out? And is everyone going to take it? And, what are the risks? So I'm just like, hey, everything that I was doing before, the way that I moved, I don't really see that coming back the way that it did. Maybe gradually, incrementally, and I want to be wrong. Maybe it's next year.
Yeah.
How could it be? I don't know.
It's weird when it's it started in March and now we're January of like
No one saw this.
no one saw that. No one really said that. And if they did say it, no one would have gone along with it. They're like, hey, just hunker up for a year.
Yeah, but,
So they got us with like 2 weeks. Oh, just another month. Just like the frog in the pot. They're just like, oh, this is a little bit more, a little bit more.
And so, and it created such a focus on the people, excuse me, that the people were in your way. You're like, so now I'm mad at politicians, and now I'm mad at these guys who don't wear masks, and now I'm mad at these guys. But my observation is like nobody knows anything, and you're experiencing a very unique thing in the world. Like, but no one's fucking you because no one knows anything. If someone had an answer, we would use it. It's one of those things where there's people pretending to know things, but they don't know anything. And so I'm like, oh, I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, if I'm going to sit here and wait for everything that the Comedy Store was, how long do I really think that is?
Yeah.
Like, that's a long time.
It feels like at least, minimum 6 months. To a year.
6 months before they let people do what they want. Like, that's crazy. I don't know. That would be tough because you got to start. What, you're going to start having to show? I'm just basing it on political. I want it to be over, and everybody wants it to be over. That I don't think everyone's paying attention to what we're looking at. So I'm looking at things, and I'm like, okay, so Ticketmaster, right? Ticketmaster already said we're not doing anything until 6 months into January, to the summer of 2021. And they said, we're going to let you know that in order to come to our things, you're going to have to get vaccinated. And so it's like, all right, that's going to change the landscape of things. Like, that's.
Yeah. There's probably going to be like, certain things. They've already said some employers can demand vaccinating. And so it's going to be like a internal passport.
Yeah. So that's gonna change kind of the landscape of stuff a little bit, and I could just imagine where I'm outside of the Comedy Store, and we've been hanging out with Freddie Gibbs a little bit, and I could just see hanging out with Freddie Gibbs, and then we all want to hop in this car and go somewhere, and then he's all like, hey, this is my stripper friend, can she come? She's not vaccinated. Okay, we kind of got to go where she can go. Where's a place that's not vaccinated? Freddie goes here, I go here, so now I'm with a stripper chick and I'm not getting any business done. And I'm just like, it just changes everything. So I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. All I know is like I'm no longer holding on to pre-March. I'm like, oh, how can I be of service with what I got in my face? And I'm not gonna fight. I'm not gonna get upset because I would hate to advocate for things that got people hurt because I don't know enough. Like, I don't know enough what's going on. I don't want to say open everything up and then people die. Like, oh shit, I didn't. Okay, yeah. I get the DJ though, so that's fine. But I'm like, I want to be very careful and very respectful. But the things that I was holding on to, in my mind, I'm like, I just have to figure out a new way to be of service. I don't know what that looks like. I have to get used to Zoom and FaceTime. You see, FaceTime whooped my ass today, so I have to get used to these things.
Yeah. Have you done any like virtual DJing or Zoom DJing?
No. All my friends on the virtual DJing game, they say, yeah, we get kicked off when we start playing certain kind of songs.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, that sucks. So then I have to make a playlist based on certain things. And I think I actually got off all social media. Like I go on it on the browser, but I took the apps off because I was getting inundated with like negative energy. I was like, oh, I'm not feeling like myself. Like I got to stop hearing some of this shit because it all feels real because people so passionate and some of it's crazy. But that's my thing. Like I don't know how to be of service, but I couldn't imagine DJing alone and pretending like I wasn't alone. That is the weirdest, corniest thing. I shout out to everyone who's doing it. Shout out to Night Wonder. Sometimes I peep on him, but for me to be like, yeah, I know y'all feeling that. Like that's just, and I'm in my room. That just sounds weird. if anything, I might make a mixtape and just throw it out there. But yeah, I always get bogged down by the legal aspects because I no longer create from a place of look how cool I am. I create from a place of can we get on the platforms and legally sound, or do we have a connection so that people can hear it? I don't want to make something that it just is only on that PIF and no one trusts that PIF, so they don't download it, and that's just like an urban thing. And it's like, so I'm trying to make platform friendly material instead of just look how dope I am in my bedroom. right? Aren't I the dopest? We're like, yeah, but no one can hear it. We can't make any money off of it. You're actually violating other, owners of the music's rights. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah, yeah. It's not show fun, it's show business.
absolutely. You got to think about those things a little bit, or also just be, look, I found this dope sample. I'm like, dude, it's not about finding a dope sample anymore. It's about making sure your music is in front of people's ears, and the sample may hinder that, and the way you flip it might hinder that. But it makes that's what made live shows so dope. Was the fact that you don't have to worry about licenses. You could do whatever you wanted. Like the last Rose Battle kind of tour that we did, every fucking city we played R. Kelly, My Mind's Telling Me No, and we gave a girl a lap dance. And the way that we kind of brought the girl on stage and the wave did it was so dope. That's what makes live shit so dope. And so if I keep waiting for that opportunity to come back again, I'm gonna beat everyone's ass. So that's why you're hearing me disconnect from it and figure out what I could do to be helpful. And when it comes back, it comes back. I'm saying 5 years. Hopefully it's 3. And if we can come back, we can come back. But I really missed the opportunity to just have fun and interact with people who came out to have a good time.
Totally.
Yeah.
You mentioned Ninth Wonder, and I had the privilege of working with him on the Boondocks. How dope would it be? I think the Boondocks needs a COVID season. I need to hear Riley's commentary on COVID.
Right? I could imagine that. I'm so glad you mentioned Boondocks, because to me, and everybody has their creative goals, but the Boondocks is like, oh, that's the lane I kind of want to be in. Like where it's like, we did a thing, we took a unique take on something, we used a unique tools, and we existed in a lane that will just be respected forever. And it whatever. It wasn't really a network thing. I didn't really get a sense that the people involved in that show were trying to get their name up. They were just like, we think this is hot. And I'm like, I love that. And I'm like, that's where I like to be at. So because of that, I think I'm gonna have to pop a season in tonight.
Yeah, pop in season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And it foreshadowed the way a lot of shows are now, which were they're just good and then audience will come. Like it was before everything was like the long tail and like you can just search for whatever shows you want that speak to you, and that's fine. But it was a show on TV where that time slot is used. It's this or nothing.
Yeah.
And now it's like you watch whatever you want, simultaneously in a different house.
And it went to some places that like I say that hip hop is like dead. And what I mean by that, I don't mean the music. I mean like the culture of hip hop, meaning there's an element of oppression, and then there's a point where the people who are being oppressed say, fuck it, we're still good. And I'm like, that is one of the best energies to have in the whole world. Fuck color, fuck race. Just the fact that someone's getting shitted on and they say, guess what? I no longer give you the power to shit on me. We're still dope and we're going to do it our way. We didn't learn to play instruments, so we're going to sample shit and rap over it. We're going to rap over your classics and we don't care. Like that, taking back your own kind of energy is like gone. Like gone. Like to me, Howard Stern is hip hop, even though white guy and whatever. That is like gone, and it's so needed in Hollywood, because right now Hollywood feels like I better say the right thing so that I can eat. If I don't say the right thing, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble, and I gotta be very, very careful. Like who makes it okay to be unapologetic? The way that I felt like kind of the Boondocks were. To me, that was a very hip hop show. They went where they wanted to go. They said what they needed to be said, and they didn't really care about how people felt about it.
Yeah, I mean, it had 2 banned episodes. Like,
yeah. Yeah.
But I think like a lot of hip hop to me was a like culture of like calling out things that were whack. And like you said, once it became corporatized, like I can't shit on this person because I might want to work with them or they're connected to this thing. And now everything is just it's a light culture. Like everything is good, nothing is bad. All it's good.
Yeah,
it's good or say nothing. Before it'd be like you're stealing his entire look, sound, name, everything, and people don't care.
You're not even allowed to say it. I run like a group, right? And it's a hip hop group, but it's all connected to people's treatment goals. And then I put up a picture of Lil Wayne and I put him in the middle, and I said Lil Wayne is the most influential rapper currently. And everyone was like, you sound crazy. The kids didn't know. They're just in there. They've been arrested. But the older people were like, oh, you stupid. It's Jay-Z, it's Jay this. And I said, no, 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 no. And then I put up a picture of who's it? Little Pump. Then a picture of Little Uzi Vert. And I said, look it. All these guys have dreads. All these guys have face tattoos. And all these guys have Lil in their first name. I said, this guy's the most influential, but that couldn't even happen in 95. There couldn't be charting rappers that have LIL in the first part of their name with dreads, with colors in it, with face.
Lil Kim?
Yeah, I mean, Lil Kim. We'll get Lil Kim. Yeah. But I mean, like now it's a thing where people's entire look and style, and it's like, dude, you sound so much like this guy that I can't even tell the difference. But we're all just going along with it because it makes money, and we're all kind of make safe bets. That's what I kind of learned about Hollywood. We want to show us the data, we'll financially get behind it. But to me, hip hop's a little bit different. Hip hop is kind of like taking your own energy, challenging things that need to be challenged, but also just overcoming any element of resistance, and that being a breath of fresh air. That's why people work out to aggressive rap, because you're hearing someone say, I will not be held down.
Yeah, I won't be stopped.
Yeah, I don't hear that anymore. Like that's why I got off of Facebook and everything, and Twitter, everything. Yeah. Like, I can't do anything because of Trump, McConnell, this person, that person, that person. I'm like, that's so unhealthy. Like, I'd rather focus on who I need to be where I want to go, as opposed to who's in my way.
I think that's why Kanye's made like some of the best albums, and probably has the most consistent album releasing career of any hip hop artist, because he doesn't care.
Yeah, he does.
Like, he's gonna do what he wants to do, sample what he wants to do, go a different way, and like they're gonna follow him or not.
Yeah. I love his stuff. People get mad at me because I like his stuff. I'm like, that stuff. I listen to it sonically. I'm like, especially the album he did in Wyoming, the Yee, whatever. I said, man, I just like those sound choices. I was like, this is empty. There's no drums, and it's, you can't really play it anywhere on radio. But I'm just like, that's such an intimate decision. What a personal decision. A lot of times people don't realize, but you sit down and you're like, okay, what's the number one record? Okay, how can I sound like that, but also sound like me? Do I need to make a
right?
But I don't get that vibe from Kanye. I get that vibe from Kanye that he's dealing with certain subjects in his life, and he's trying to do his best to score them. And then, like, especially his that Yee album, he had made some, whatever he said, like, basically the theme of it was like, hey, I'm married to a beautiful woman, but I still have these dark thoughts about the women in Hollywood and in entertainment. And I'm like, yes, I was so connected to that. And everyone's like, oh, my Kanye. I was like, you have no idea what it's like to be completely satisfied at home, but still be out and people are admiring you, and you still have to deal with those demons. And I'm like, well, who's even addressing that right now? Because when you go on the radio, everything is about love, or in hip hop, it's about taking pills. So,
or I don't even know what they're saying, to be honest.
A lot of pill popping, which I think is just weird, dude. I'm like, you're depressed.
Yeah, it does show, like, I'm like a big Jay-Z fan, but I don't think Jay-Z took a markedly different route than Kanye. He kind of stayed in that, like, I'm going to do what people want to hear. I'm going to put Justin Timberlake on a song. Like, he still played, he stopped like evolving somewhere around 2008. Yeah. Like, he just kind of, and then the world changed, and Kanye somehow always changes with the world.
Yeah.
But where Jay kind of stayed, and he tried to do 444, which was, I thought it was okay.
I thought 444, I remember me and Moses were like, this was the intimate Jay that we wanted. All that, like, we were so impressed about how intimate he got, because this is Jigga Man, and he was always like, I'm good, I'm good, everybody's bad. But this was a time where he had to kind of face some things, and we were like, oh, we wanted this. And I just liked the way that he kind of moved on it. But more importantly, I love the no ID sample style. And I did a song like that immediately. And I was like, are we paying attention to how they bring in the vocal chop, then remove the vocal chop, and how it's just, I'm like, no one's sampling like this. And like this whole art form that, it's been, 16 bars and we might move things around, but it's like, was fucking weird. No ID did something very interesting. That OJ, like the way those vocals
kept going.
Yeah, and it would come in and it would come out, and it was like a part of the music. I was like, oh, it was very inspiring. And I was one of the, on a production side, that was one of the most inspiring, especially probably the OJ song that I've heard in a long time. It's probably him, some EDM stuff that no one knows about, and then like Kanye West's stuff, because Kanye has so much layers, and there's so many like there's so much layers that it's very moody music. It's
Yeah.
very intimate, moody music. It's not dry. It's not, syncopated. It's just very moody, rough. It doesn't even seem like he's focused on finishing things. It's just like,
Right.
okay, it's just intimate. I feel like when I listen to Kanye, especially when he produces stuff, he lets me know where he's at. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And sometimes I listen to certain people and they tell me, where they want to be, which is with a bunch of girls in a nightclub. I'm like, that's,
Right.
but I've heard that before.
Yeah,
It's
because we got used to like a copy paste kind of way of making records. Like, oh, this is it's like 4 bars, 8 bars, 16. Those are the chunks you can use, and you have to. So when something's like off, like the end of the Boondocks is a 3 bar sample. That ending theme song, which you're like 3 bar loop. Like what? Who does a 3 bar loop?
yeah.
And then I also miss like even when like the producers knew it had to be like a 16 bar verse, but like the rapper didn't get the memo.
Uh,
Like on Mo Money Mo Problems, like the chorus is on and Mace is still going. He's got like 3 more,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
and like no one told him. They're like, oh, just leave it in.
Yeah, we like that. That'll work. Yeah, the Boondocks was that music in Boondocks really got me, man. Oh, the shiny chain, the I came up, got my name up, like that. I remember me and my boys going back, like those were some of the hardest bars ever. It was like I'm a cutthroat baller like OJ Simpson. I was like, oh snap, like those bars were in TV. It was like people have no idea how refreshing it is to hear lyricists on a TV show. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's crazy. Like I'm reciting TV bar lines compared to, whatever. There's no one ever did that. So that's why I'm like, well, if I'm going to create, I get inspired by that. But the inspiration is like, I want to be where no one else is. And I want to be intimate and I want it to be personal. And I want to speak to things that are universal, but I want to do them in a very intimate way.
The cast was like Mos Def,
Yeah.
Charlie Murphy,
Yeah.
like all the, and like so many. It was just like this perfect like it just captured all of like the voices of the time and put them into these roles and like predicted so much stuff, like the fashion stuff, like Thugnific or Gangstalicious with doing the fashion line, like the skirt for thugs,
Yeah.
like all
And now,
like that, like 14 years before rappers are wearing dresses.
yeah. And that's like, now you got people doing it. You're like, whoa, that's very interesting. Very interesting. They were in tune to some things. They had insight. They had something to share.
Well, this has been great. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think we covered a lot of great topics. I would love to do it again because I feel like we could do so many different things in studio and gear and stuff like that. And I'm glad that you're doing well during quarantine. And
I am now. I was struggling, man.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I'm used to balling, man. I'm used to being out there. We lost so much money. I'm an independent contractor. So we just,
yeah.
we lost money. And it was like, okay, cool. So that made me reevaluate my connection to money. And I feel like I'm okay with that now. But it's like, man, I have to figure out how to be of service. I think that's the hardest part. Everyone's hunkered down and we're not connected to anybody.
Yeah. Can you do like when you're doing a studio session, are you just doing them like remotely, like sending parts around or?
See, the thing is, like I built a music program here. And it was so dope because it was basically like you see, like there's a mic and everything. So this is the recording room. So basically there's a treatment team here. These kids are here, they're in residential treatment. So by the way, when everything shut down over there, I kind of was holding on to little jobs and stuff. And I was working on a deal that's going to be really big and I'm going to go be my guy. But then I was just focusing on this placement and basically what these kids do. And it's very, very meaningful. I'm very connected to it. They, they're in a unit and they identify some treatment goals, whether it be anger, violence, whatever the fuck, drug addiction. Then we just figure out a creative way to address it. And then they make songs on that. And then after they make songs on that, we all just take a look at it. Mom, parole officer, we just talk about it and it's good. And everything was going smooth until 2 weeks ago. They're like, hey, there's an outbreak on campus and that shut down. So I was like,
no.
Every single thing that I do has been shut down. So now I had to find out a new way to do it. They're like, yeah, we can't. There's too many COVID everywhere. And it's like, I can't even pretend to act like it's a conspiracy now because the hospitals are a mess right now and people are dying. So it's like, man, that's really crazy. Like, I can't do nothing. So what should I do?
It's like 1 hour at a time, it feels like.
Dude, I don't know. It's like, I was telling my wife this. So I got PlayStation VR and I've been playing Iron Man. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. But
yeah. I've been playing a lot of video games. I've been playing Cyberpunk.
I heard Cyberpunk is fire.
It's fine. I mean, I have a PS4, and so it's a little janky on a PS4, but it's still like it's so good. It's so
Everyone's talking
like
about how dope it is. Like
yeah, it's just
I'm
it's
playing
just
video games. That's so not like me. I'm like, I'm supposed to have shit to do, but it's like I feel like I kind of got to be humble and figure it out because I'm missing the ability to kind of just get close. Like I used to do the podcast Verbal Violence, and those episodes were what they were, but we would spend hours talking to those guests, those roast battlers,
yeah.
and understanding the psychology behind their jokes. And people are coming on our podcast admitting to the whole world that they had a suicide attempt at 11, or opening up about sexual abuse and how it's affected their sexuality. And I'm like, oh, this is so dope because it's just a moment of intimacy. And now we got to figure out a new way to be intimate. I haven't really figured it out yet for me.
Yeah. And video games give you a sense of adventure too. It's like we're kind of stuck at home,
Yeah, so now I'm
and
fighting aliens like Iron Man. I'm on my
yeah.
5th Madden season. Now I'm like, I'm thinking about getting rid of my quarterback. He's such a cap hit, and just kind of building in the draft. Like I'm scouting players on Madden. I've never done that. Like every week I'm getting scouting points and I'm checking out guys in the high school because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like I'm a grown man. I should be making music and making a ton of fucking money.
Yeah, it's getting you through the whole thing. I do want to ask one more question if you have time.
Keep going. I got all day, man.
What advice would you give to like a young gun starting out wanting to get into DJ production in terms of like what he should buy, what he should start with?
Oh, what he should buy? DJ equipment?
Yeah, it's like I got nothing. What should I do? Where do I start?
Oh man, I would say the first thing you do, you need to identify who turns you on, and then you need to like. I took an art class and we studied Picasso, and they showed us all of that French impressionist shit where everyone's all fucking this way. But in the art class, they brought us back to Picasso's first shit. Picasso was one of the dopest recreationalists ever. Like he can almost draw something that looked like a picture. And so in my mind, that always made me think like, in order to be a transcendent artist, you have to figure out how to do what everyone's doing or do what you like to be done. So once you figure out who's doing the things that you're doing, you start researching that artist. I don't care who it is, like Sanhulu. Like I love Sanhulu. You need to watch him do an interview. And what is that? Did you use Ableton? Then you get Ableton. It's not that Ableton's better, but just that you're inspired by Sanhulu. So you need
right.
To, and you just need to, it just feels a type of way if you're like, oh, what is he using? He uses a guitar. Fuck it, I'm gonna use a guitar. I kind of know it. I'm gonna get better at it. This, that, and the other. I think that you should identify a point of inspiration, and then you should mirror your career out of that. And then when you start feeling like you have control over yourself, and you start introducing new elements to people around you, then your personality kind of takes form. Then you do things your own way, and you start getting down. So yeah. You find a DJ set that really inspires you, and my favorite DJ, I'm gonna say my favorite DJ, and I don't even know his name, but the Beat Junkies. So the Beat Junkies are a collection of DJs, and the way that they get down is out of control. Like you got P-Trix, you have Qbert. Oh, if you can find if you can find a DJ Qbert set, and you're like, whoa, okay, what did he do? How did he do it? And then that's where you would kind of start. And then you would mirror your career off of that. Because if we get caught up into what equipment is better, you're going to waste your time. It's not about that. It's about what kind of drives you. And it's allow yourself to be motivated by a person, because that creates humility. And as long as you're humble in this business, you will smile. The minute you become bitter and Taylor Swift, it's over. It's just over.
I don't know if Taylor Swift is over.
No. She's unhappy. I don't want to be rich and unhappy. You want to make people feel good. So when people, that's what I say. So that's why I keep trying to bring it back to like, hey, listen, dude, you guys with big platforms, you're making people feel like shit because no one wants to do anything. I haven't heard an encouraging message from anyone since all those celebrities played the guitar and said, we're in this together or some shit like that. Like that was the last time I was encouraged. Like I haven't heard someone say, hey, T, you're going to be good today. And I'm like, well, we're missing these messages. And it's kind of like, it's been 9 months of this. So
yeah, but AT, you're going to be good today. You don't click on that. You click on, look at this guy's face. That's how he messed it up. You're like, oh, that sounds good. Let's see what's up.
But it used to be like when the projects came out, it was like you hear a joke that was crafted so dope. And it was like, if you're a comedian, you want to go craft a joke that good. And if fuck, you flip hamburgers, you're like, man, the way he tells jokes, I want to flip hamburgers like that. But if no one's kind of doing, at least in my world, I'm not seeing people excel. I'm seeing people express and really connect to to the darkest elements of society right now. And I'm like, I don't know if we can keep doing that. Like we need some kind of like relief a little bit.
Yeah.
Used to
Well,
be the comics job.
yeah, there's two kind of like media creation philosophies right now. It's like just create as much as you can, like it doesn't matter the quality, or you have to be like create like really spend the time to make the art you want to do as perfect as it can be. And when you're stuck in the middle is where you get lost. Like everything's either like whip out your phone, we're TikToking live, let's go, or it's like I'm spending a couple months on this to make it dope. If you're just kind of like average of both, not fast and not good, like what are we doing?
Yeah, you're not popping. That's the thing too, is like if you're studying the YouTube algorithms and you want to make a name for yourself, it's like, dude, I gotta clip up 7 videos a day. Like if I don't clip up 7 videos a day, what the hell am I gonna do? If not, then you gotta be connected to somebody with a little bit of an advertising arm. You gotta be in the Viacom, gotta be in iHeartRadio just to get my shit out and give it the attention that it needs. But it's like, I don't know. I used to wake up every day, listen to things, watch things, and then feel like, oh, I can't wait to do something. Now I can't do anything, and I need to fix that. Because if I don't fix it, what the fuck? Like it's just kind of difficult. Everything around me kind of keeps getting shut down, so I need to figure out a way to exist. I love podcasting, but this shit right here with the video and the technical, like that shit to me is like, I was gonna try to wait, but now I'm like, I don't think I can wait. I'm gonna have to do something. I enjoy conversating so much.
Yeah, you're really good at it, and I think you'd have a killer podcast if you decided to go that route.
Yeah, I had a show that just got canceled on Viacom like 4 weeks ago. So like 4 weeks ago, the last kind of like my last entertainment job was like, dude, we love you. You actually been canceled for like 4 months, but we fuck with you so much that we just ignored the paperwork. We have to kind of move on. We love you. I'm like, all right, good. So I don't do that no more. So I'm fine. I'll just keep mixing and recording. And by the way, like I just spent, I don't know, $2,000 on plugins and all kinds of samples and shit. And I'm just pouring hard body into these kids. And then they show up and they're like, oh yeah, you can't be around kids anymore. There's an outbreak. I'm like, fuck. All right, what am I gonna do? Like, I gotta do something. Like, I gotta figure out a way to be who I was in the new world, which might last longer than I think we're prepared to understand.
Totally. Well, you know what you should do is listen back to you talking about this because it was very inspirational.
Yeah. I can no longer participate in the spreading of dark energy because I'm like, we got to figure out how to. We don't have the distractions we used to have before. We can't go to girls and get drunk in bars, and so it's like I got to be a little careful about. Yeah, Latif, everything sucks, and it's everyone else's fault because I'm like, well, that doesn't make anyone feel better. Like that doesn't do the job of what I think entertainment is, which is to make you feel fucking dope. Then you go out and have better sex. You drink better, you run better, you work out. That's what the purpose of entertainment is. When you go to a gym, what's on TV? Shit's in your ear. There's music everywhere because that's art, and art makes you want to be dope. There's a reason why, the gym doesn't look like a jail. It's all painted the same color, There's paintings everywhere. There's pictures. You see energy, and like, man, we're really starved for that. So I'm gonna be focused on that moving forward, 2021.
Love it. Not all content is entertainment, so.
Oh, that is true. But I'm speaking to that element because I used to roast battle. So it was like.
No, I mean, like a lot of people try. I think everyone's trying to make it entertainment. They think it's entertainment. It's just something I got to click around to find what I'm really looking for.
Right. So I got an investor guy who's like, and I watched this guy make $1 million. I watched him make $800,000 in COVID. Like I watched him like. He logs on and makes me watch his account, and I see his growth everywhere. He's like, why are you not getting any stocks like me? It's like, I don't care about stocks. I care about music. But that's wrong. I'm going to fix that. But he's like, the world is starving for like a better platform. Like we know that the networks are dying, and we know that TV is different, but it's like we're missing kind of a good platform that's kind of a way to protect the artists, because you don't want people's old clips getting brought up during an election time and saying we're going to cancel. They edited him, and it's like, oh, he hates women or this or that. So it's like there's got to be a way that we can, there's got to be a better platform than YouTube. There's got to be a better platform than Twitter. And it's like no one's even kind of thinking like that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't know what that looks like, but I don't
Yeah, just wait till they deep fake everyone into like saying whatever you want them to say.
yeah.
You
Then
know, like that's like people. I think Adam Ray puts on the Robert Downey Jr. face and and you're like, what the hell? It
huh,
just looks like him, talks like him. You're like,
yeah, fuck that.
that's gonna be. And then we got to figure out now. Now we're detectives too. We got to figure out what's real and what's not. Good luck.
It's really crazy. Like I'm watching people, do things, and I just the way the internet just attacks people. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
24/7.
Like that to me is not hip hop. Like so, I'm like, I want to bring hip hop. I want to say back. I say it never left. We just corporate just dominates because they pay people off. Like when I saw Cardi B with the president with Joe Biden, I was like, oh, this is over. Like, where the fuck is, where's Rakim? Like, where's that? like this is like, what the fuck? Like, where are heroes? Like, where are the guys I grew up on? Where is the 97 Jay-Z? Like, where are these guys?
Yeah, 97 J. Do you have a top 5 rappers?
Man, that's a tough one. Now I'm non-biased. I had to do it non-biased, and I would do it based on career and influence. And so I always have to say Jay-Z because he really did a lot of things. Yeah. I have to reluctantly say Lil Wayne because I watched Lil Wayne when he started, he was something that I wasn't feeling. But now I'm like, I got to respect it. And the guy raps his ass off now. And he's so influential. There's nothing I can do about it. There's so many little rappers now with shit in their hair. And I'm like, I know that comes from Wayne. So we got Jay, you got Wayne. I also got to throw Drake in there, which is like, I have to. I've never seen anybody. Either he sold his soul to the devil. I said, I have a joke. You can't go 40 minutes in America without a Drake song. You're going to hear it in the mall. You're going to hear it in the radio. I've never seen any.
It's a continuous stream of Drake all around the world.
I've never seen anything like that. So once we get those three, I gotta, I'd have to say Kanye, right? I mean, I feel like he's maybe more of a producer, but I mean, he's a vocalist, he's a rapper, and believe it or not, I think he's the grandfather to a lot of this stuff because he was a well put together, well spoken, polo wearing guy around gangsters, which to me is the motto right now. Like that whole, I don't know, he made it easier to be closer to aggressive rap music, and I think that's kind of like a business model. So you got those 4, and then I know the pressure is to say Nas, but I'll be honest, man. No Nas record has ever moved me like that. I hate to say that out loud.
Not even the 1.5 good records.
I think his first one, everyone talks about it. I'm just like, I didn't feel it like that. I didn't feel it like that. That's a tough one, man. The last 5. Damn. You think I'm missing anybody?
I mean, I'll give you my 5. Mine, it changes. The top 3 never change, which is Jay, Nas, and Biggie.
Okay.
And then the last 2 change a lot. Right now, if I think about it, it's Prodigy and Rakim.
See, if I was doing disconnected research, I'd have to say, Rakim, I had to throw Nas in there. I always discount Tupac and Biggie because they died. And I don't think it's their fault. I'm just like, you gotta be alive. That's a part of the winning. You gotta make it to the end of the game. you gotta survive. But I'm looking
at your best of Mario Brothers level 1 and 2, and then you just stop.
Yeah, this is about how you did in level 8. You gotta win. You gotta save the princess. So, but when I look at impact, I really think that everyone started rapping different after Nas, and I think everyone started rapping different after Rakim. Yeah. I've seen some interview where I'm a humongous Run DMC fan. Humongous. As a matter of fact, I was listening to Run's house on my way over here for no reason. Because it's like, I'm listening to Run's house in 2020 because that shit feels good. But I remember there was an interview when somebody played Rakim for DMC and he was rapping way different. Because, Run DMC sounded like the Beastie Boys with the finishing each other's bars and things like that. When Rakim came in with all of that aggression and DMC said, oh, we're finished. And so, so I was like, yeah, you were. And I'm like, so when I saw what Rakim does, it's like he has undeniable effect on the industry. So it's like, I would be ignorant not to give it to Rakim or to Nas, but I wasn't there and I didn't connect to those. As far as the things that I connect to, I have never been more impressed with a Jay Electronica. I can't make an argument for him being the best because he's just a weirdo and doesn't like to put music out. but his lyrics and the way I study, I'm like, this guy is super duper impressive. No one's talking about him. Extremely underrated. Um, the way that Fabulous makes me feel with his bar construction is just like, man, he's like, whenever I want to feel slick, I'm like, yo, I gotta put that Fabulous on. He just has a very unique way of making you feel slick. I also think MF.
He kind of reminds me of like a Jay-Z's like younger brother who, he's kind of
Yeah,
has a
yeah,
Jay-Z flow, but like a bit more like, yeah.
yeah. I was very impressed with the way that that guy was rapping back in the day, and I also like Doom because like these are like my favorites, and I
Yeah.
don't think my list is the list. That's why
Yeah, right. There is no the list.
yeah,
That's the
there's no
thing.
list, but I always try to say influence. But I think with Jay Electronica and I'll say Doom are so good at what they do that you can't even recreate it. Like Jay Electronica has and I show this in group. Like we study this from a therapeutic standpoint. I don't want to fuck this lyric up, but it was like I was lost in the jungle like Simba after the death of Mufasa. No hog, no meerkat. Akuna Matata by day, but I spend my nighttime chasing tears back. And I was like, are you serious? I was like, do you have any idea how intimate, how personal that fucking lyric is? Like that is just the rawest thing I've ever heard. Personally, I like Jay-Z a lot too because I always felt like, okay, Jay did it, I could do it. Like for some reason, every time I heard
It got you inspired to like
got
go
you
out and be smart. Like I think like Jay-Z inspired you to be smart, to better yourself, to be
exactly,
rich. Like
he got in that lane, and Jay-Z had something, and I hate to say because I'm so much more mature and I don't even like look up to people like that, but Jay-Z is one of the only rappers I've ever heard mature. Like I don't think I've really heard rappers mature. Jay-Z's first single was, ain't no nigga like the one I got. No one can fuck you better. And then he matures to being a guy who is upset about cheating. And I was like, where's that growth at in any career? Like most people, you have to continually reinvent yourself and leave parts of you that was successful behind and try to attempt to do new parts of you to be successful. And I was like, man, I don't think he gets enough credit for that.
And look how many times he changed his flow.
Absolutely.
Like almost every album.
Yeah, he does the blueprint too. He brings back those samples. He has that song "Girls, Girls, Girls." That was Blueprint 1, and then in Blueprint 2, he's like, hey, you see him flirting with the idea in that single. Excuse me, miss. Flirting with the idea, like, hey, I think I met someone who matters. And then moving forward, it's like I don't even have to take sand to the beach. It's like, oh my God, I watched a thug grow up and be a married man, and so that is like because. I am someone who was young and reckless and did very violent things and stupid things when I was young. Now I've grown out of it, and I don't think I have any music to listen to that speaks to that maturity. And so that's why I'm like, I got to respect that Jay does that. Other than that, I don't know. I have to listen to young, thuggish kids who are talking about shooting just so I can have that energy. And then I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Doesn't make any sense. Like I want that same kind of energy towards, I don't know, your stock portfolio. And father and learning how to move in a meeting, but no one wants to kind of speak to that because we keep dumbing down energy to to the most impressionable people in our society.
Girls has, if you listen, I don't know why I did this. I was in Utah like waiting to go to a show, and Girls was on, and let me write out the bar structure. It's got the craziest like structure. It's not just verse chorus. It's like 4 bars of the verse come back here in the chorus. Like it was such a well-produced song and like such a good sample, and having those vocals come in and still rapping over them. Like,
oh my goodness. Like that was nuts. That was the beginning of Kanye, which is like, dude, I gotta make
that was Just Blaze.
That was Just Blaze's beat?
Yeah.
I know, but I know he had a whole bunch of Kanye West samples on that album. But I was like, oh, that was stupid. And then that video was kind of cool.
Yeah, with the changing, the nonstop shot. Yeah.
Kind of girls coming around all the time. And I was like, yo, that is just dope. Because when I heard that, I was like, yeah, man. Like, I always tell people, like, I'm full of myself. Like, I'm super cocky. I think I can do anything. But I don't think that you can't not do anything either. Like, I don't think I'm better than Latif. I think I'm dope, and I think Latif is dope. I think everybody is dope. We just have to figure out that we're dope. So I'm always looking for energy that reminds me of what I'm capable of. And that's where I'm like, that's what rap music is to me. It's like, hey, man, remember how dope you are today. I'm like, yeah, I am dope, bro. Like, I am dope. Like, I just feel...
It's all internal. Like, whatever you're trying to accomplish it's a battle And that's what comedy is. It's a battle against the self, the discipline, the, you know, figuring out like you actually have to work at it, and
Yeah,
no one's gonna make you do it. You just have to do it on your own and schedule and write, and
yeah,
yeah, you're fighting against yourself the whole way.
yeah. And boy, do I miss comedy, man. That's great.
Totally.
And I was getting burnt out on that shit. But now,
Yeah.
man, bring that back.
I'm gonna give you two unreleased albums, and I want to know which one you'd rather hear.
Okay.
The first is the original Jay-Z Black album that was all DJ Premier, which never came out.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the Rakim Dr. Dre album that never came out.
Jeez. Now, you know I'm gonna go towards the premiere because that makes the most sense. But Rakim had a verse on Blueprint 2
Yep.
that was stupid. And I was like, shouldn't I be hearing more of Rakim right now in 2003 or whenever
Yeah.
that came out?
And that was over a Dre beat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I had to go to that unreleased. I want to go to unreleased Black album. The reason why I'm gonna tell you my reason. I think the Rakim will be nice to hear, and I think it's going to be a great display of skills and a lot of growth and maturity. But I think part of the reason that thing might not got a release is probably some of the samples, because Premier is that kind of guy. But also maybe Jay-Z said some things that he didn't want out in the world, because at that time when he did the Black album, he was breaking up, and I don't really know what was in his heart. And so when he actually released the Black album, there was a lot of things that he didn't kind of touch on. Like he never really touched on the situation at Rockefeller. So I'm gonna go with that unreleased Jay-Z just because I think there might be some hidden goodies in there.
Yeah. I heard, now this could be a rumor, I heard that part of the reason why the Rakim album never came out is because he kept using old references in the raps.
Oh,
He'd call girls like honey dips. and, and,
Uncle Rakim.
and at a certain point, they're like, we can't do this.
They protected him. Now, with that said, with Dre, and I say this, it's hard to say this because now we all think of Snoop as like, you know, this uncle on entertainment. But I've never felt what I felt from that Doggy Style album from any other project in the whole entire world. When Snoop released that Doggy Style album, nothing has affected me like that before. I remember listening to it. I was young. I was in junior high. I was getting my hair braided. And then my mom found out I was listening to it. She took it away from me, scolded me for listening to these bad lyrics, and I cried. And I don't cry. Like I cried 5 times in my life. I remember crying because I couldn't have it, because I couldn't have whatever that energy was that I was getting from that. And I didn't even realize it. I had no idea how connected I was to it. And I'm like, I think that might be one of the greatest projects ever for me personally. I don't know what it was. I wasn't a gangster. I didn't gang bang, but just the way that they moved and that energy and the smoothness of it, Dre, I was like, wow, that shit was phenomenal. I don't think people really like to talk about how dope Doggy Style was.
They were a magical team. Like from the first time you heard Snoop on, I think it was on the Chronic, right?
Yeah.
For that first time, like you're just like, oh, these two have something.
Dude, he had to. I was coaching in a suburban high school, like whatever, Clovis. Clovis is a suburb of Fresno. It's a white flight community. So it's just where people go because they want to escape everything that's not white and they want to be safe. And I was coaching wrestling, and I was like, okay, for senior night, I made everybody pick their own song that they got to come out to. And one kid, the 103 pounder, he didn't want to pick a song. So I was like, you know what? We're coming out as a team to Jay-Z. We came out to the PSA because I was like, that's Drop the Lights, dun, dun, dun. And everybody's like, oh.
Yeah.
But I made the 103 pounder come out to What's My Name by Snoop. That dun, 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 dun. And so he came out to that because he didn't
I was worried you're going to say Rihanna. I was like, oh,
so he comes out to that, and this is how dope that was. After the wrestling match, he came up to me like, Coach, what the hell was that? I was lit. I was like, right? I was like, something about every track on Doggy Style was just crazy. Nothing moved me like Doggy Style.
Yeah, I mean, he's like one of the best producers of all time, and sonically, like nothing sounds like him.
No, they sound so dope.
I like that Jay-Z was such a boss in 2006 that he got Dre to mix his whole album.
I could see that because there's rumors about how effective Dre's mixing skills are. Like that's what I heard. I mean, I don't know anything, but that's what I heard. That's the relationship that Kendrick has with Dre as well. like running things through tape machine still, and kind of doing things that way. And I'm like, yeah, Dre stuff does sound good, but I think it's technically sounds a lot better than we probably give it credit for. So the more I mix things and the more I understand how songs are structured, the more I can respect what he's actually doing.
Yeah.
Like,
There's this great scene in I think Mary J. Blige's 2001 record. It was like a CD extra. You could put it in your computer and like watch videos. And it's one scene of her and Puff mixing a record. And Mary comes into the studio. It's like, I don't know what happened. Like, I don't like the record. It's like, what'd you do? Like, who mixed it? She's yelling at the engineer, and Puff like says, I mixed the record. It was me. He pushed the button. I mixed the record. I'm like, why did you put this on the DVD? It's just him berating everyone.
Yeah, that mixing process, I'm starting to get more and more into it. And I think probably the future of me is gonna be somebody who kind of is more of connective tissue creatively and less of somebody who's trying to, plot out his own career in the front. I like being in the back. And for some reason, I just like frequencies. And I like when you can produce something and you have like the right frequencies. Like these Post Malone songs, you said we want to say about Post Malone, but they feel so fucking good. The balance in those records are amazing. I have no idea what it is. I have no idea who's mixing that shit.
They're hits. He's making hits. Yeah.
They sound so good. Like there's not they just are. I'm like, you guys, if you guys want to study beautiful balance sonically in a song, listen to any of those Post Malone top 10 singles. Those are just perfect.
And Sicko Mode, Travis Scott.
Yeah.
That's like 18. That's the ADD culture. It has 18 different beats. Like
yeah.
If you look at like the writing, it's like 45 writers. Like no one's making money on this. Like everyone's produced. Like even Timbaland has a writing credit. I think Timbaland did some of it. Oh. Or one of the 18 beats is his. If I had to guess, it's that first one. The wah, wah. That sounds like Timbaland.
That one was hard. I was mad when that one went away. I was like, man, that's the beat that I'm trying to be on. But yeah, so when I'm listening to people, I'm listening to the way that the frequencies are structured, because at the end of the day, the frequencies is what's really kind of doing the communication. It adds a layer of of emotion to it. And then if someone can figure out how to capture the emotion and balance it and send it to you, it's like, man, we gotta give those guys credit.
Yeah, it makes a difference. Like there's on Mo Money Mo Problems, on Biggie's second album, if you listen to it, it sounds okay. Like it's good. And then they took that song and made a single version, which basically just had a mixer remix it. Yeah. And when that version comes on, it's the same song, it's just different levels, different EQ. You're like, this is a hit. Like, so it does matter. Like it can take a song from being like, all right, that's fine, to being like, this is a hit. Yeah.
People have no idea what the little things do. Jay Dilla has this sample, and I know this because like I have this Jackson 5 sample. It's the all day I think of you. It's called Day and Night, I think, by Dilla. So I listened to the original whatever from the Jackson 5s, and I was like, this song is a great song, but like, why didn't it work? And then one of the things that I hear is that the lead vocal and the background vocals don't come in at the same time, and it throws me off just a little bit. And I'm like, I'm interested to know who mixed this, where did they record it? Because I really think that's the reason why no one knows that song, is because those little things that kind of happen. And when I point those out to people, they're like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, yeah, you don't understand that the mixer is turning you on to the song or turning you off to the song, and you don't even know it because you don't pay attention to those details.
Yeah, or you don't know why you don't like it.
Yeah.
Or don't know why you like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave on this last little music tidbit, which is Crisscross, obviously.
Super fan.
Some of those samples, like on Jump, it's like a Michael Jackson sample. And to get that sample, like it's like when they first started doing stereo, when they mixed some of those old Jackson 5 records.
Okay.
And so they would pan things in different speakers, not like the way we're used to. They're like, we'll put the vocals on the left, or the bass only on the right. And that sample only exists by taking like the left side of that Jackson 5 record and looping it, because otherwise you have all this other stuff in it. And Jermaine Dupri was like a really sample heavy producer that I think people forget about.
Yeah, people, I think people forget about freaking Crisscross. I did a private COVID party. Please, no one kill me. I did it a while ago before LA broke out.
All right, first podcast edit.
It was and it was a 90s party, and I was like, I was listening to all these like 90 records, and I was like, oh, Crisscross. I was like, man, that shit was crazy inspiring. And then people do sleep on Jermaine Dupri. I do not know why. I think because he's short and he doesn't really command the room, but I don't know. But that album,
he commands the room. I saw. Okay, I'm at Swingers after the post comedy show.
Huh?
I was there with Jamie Kennedy. We're eating, and then he's like, "I think that's Jermaine Dupri," and I looked over his shoulder. I had to stand up a bit because and so he's there sitting, and I'm like, he just has star energy.
Oh, really?
Like big time. I'm like, I get it while you're in a video with Mariah Carey. Like I totally 100% get it. He has star energy. Like,
oh, well,
big time.
For some reason, his name just doesn't come up. Maybe we have a recency bias. I don't know. But I have so many great moments from things he's produced. But that is definitely true, because I was working on a sample and I'm like, yeah, if you pan it this way, you'll get less vocals. If you pan it this way, and not many people kind of know that. But I mean, Crisscross Jump, I mean, come on, Latif, that was a banger. Like that shit. That was a banger. Like that moved me.
It was. I mean, like they were hits. I mean,
whole album. I Missed the Bus. Like that whole album was crazy.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was. I remember getting it when I was very young, and it was. I think I played it nonstop. So.
Yeah, that was back in the day where you could play a tape on one side and stop it and know where it was on the other side, and be like, oh yeah, this is where the other song is on the other side.
right. You had the time.
Yeah, before the CD world.
It gave us like a physical understanding of stuff. Like things didn't just exist in the ether of the internet. There was like, it's here, and right here. That's where it is.
Yeah, and having it made you kind of move differently. It was like, oh, you had that tape? Oh, snap. Okay. All right. And like I think remember some of the EPMD tapes back in the day, and I don't know. So very nostalgic for some of those stuff. And I'm like, man, I'd like to recreate some of that kind of youthful energy. I don't really know how to do it yet, but
yeah. There was a point where RZA, I think, said, he's like, I want to master my records to tape again and like release them.
Okay. I'm with it.
Because cassettes had a different sound. Like I remember like I'd have a cassette of something and I was like, I kind of like the way it sounded more than the CD sometimes, because it just sounded raw and trashy. And
yeah, it's got some whatever the hell's going on in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we're trying to make the music portable, and that we're reducing things to MP3s, and I don't know, we're kind of doing some damage, but no one cares because it's making money, it's on your phone, and so it is what it is.
It is what it is. Well, Coach T, thank you so much. Please let everyone, even though you're not on social media, let everyone know where to find you.
Yeah, find me on at Coach T on Twitter. That's probably the only one that I'll give a shit about. I check Twitter from now on time to 10, and I tweet.
All right, he tweets. He'll tweet at you if you antagonize him about your favorite rappers.
Yeah.
And thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for reaching out, man.
All right, take care.
I need this today.
Oh, no, it was great.
All right, I'll see you
later.